Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mining Now. Today we are at CIM 23 in Montreal and excited to have SMS Equipment joining, as well as Bryce Short, who represents Komatsu Germany, and Dillon McKinnon, who is the manager with Mining Equipment Technology. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. So there's a lot of talk. We'll just jump right into it. There's a lot of talk about the decarbonization in this event particularly. I want to jump into the electrification that's happening. Could you both just explain what you're seeing with both your roles as well, and just a little background?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think really what we're seeing is the market reacting to the need to really decarbonize or look at carbon abatement in the mining industry, and how do we tackle that, and how do we really replace typical sort of diesel combustion today through electrification, and then how do we get that electricity to the machine, and then sort of all the infrastructure and everything behind it to make that all successful, and then the different types of equipment that can be electrified. So Bryce will speak a bunch of the shovels. There's electrifying the drills, and then on the mobile fleet side, really electrifying the haul trucks, which really isn't anything new. You go right back to the 50s. I mean, there was some trolley solutions with mobile fleet assets that's constantly sort of been refined over the years. It kind of disappeared a bit for quite a few years. It was used a bit in Africa, but we're really seeing sort of that reemergence of it, and
Okay.
sort of the next level of technology as well on the infrastructure side, and what they can do to make it as efficient as they can.
Okay. And then on your side, what are you seeing?
So the large hydraulic mining shovels really came around in the 1980s, and actually the first electric hydraulic shovel was in 1984. But in saying that, in the last few years, there's been more of a focus towards, of course, net zero, carbon zero.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot more requests to see the machines going to electric machines. And a lot of conversations about converting over from diesel to electric. Of course, as Dylan mentioned, though,
Right.
some of the challenges that you face with that is not just that easy to switch over to electric, because you still got to have to get the power to the site.
Okay.
If the power is at the site, then it's relatively easy.
So do you deal with a lot of sites that don't have the ability to bring in that power at this point?
So one of the you got to look at like the little, or shouldn't say the little hydraulic shovel, the large hydraulic shovel in comparison to the rope shovel. All rope shovels are electric.
Okay.
So hydraulic shovels from the smaller mining, like, and I say the remote mining, so up in the Canadian Arctic,
Yeah.
for example,
Yeah.
electricity is not going to be very common up there.
Mhm.
So there you'll see mostly diesel machines. And in smaller mines where the infrastructure is not in place, you'll see diesels. But in the last few years too, the hydraulic shovels are really starting to take off because they've gotten larger, they're more efficient. So now they're competing in that same market, and you'll see a lot of people looking at hydraulic shovels, electric hydraulic shovels. Capital
Right.
cost is lower.
Right.
So
Are they doing and is there any difference in capacity, or is it could be completely matched?
so an electric shovel and a hydraulic shovel are exactly the same. The only difference is that the diesel engines are replaced with two electric motors. They operate exactly the same from the drive standpoint out.
Okay.
They're exactly the same.
So you can work with any client's
Same.
needs.
Same. They work the same speed. They travel the same speed. They dig the same way. The electric machine, you could say that's a little bit smoother because electric motor is more stable.
Right.
But for all intents and purposes, the machines are exactly the same.
Okay.
The electric machine would be less maintenance, of course,
Right.
a lot less cost.
Mhm. And that's long term. Like those units, are they what sort of lifespan are you talking with these?
So one of the arguments is always is everybody says, "What's your design life?" Well, the actual design life is a different definition than what's a true economic life of the machine.
Mhm.
And we have machines that are upwards near 175,000 hours from. So a good example, since 1980, more than 50% of all of our machines that were built are still operating.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and you'll see a lot of the larger machines now because the PC 8000 brand didn't come out until the early 2000s,
Okay.
and you're starting to see PC 8000 machines that are up into the 135,000 hour range and still going. So they're a long life machine.
Mhm.
The design criteria 60,000 hours or 8 million cycles is really based on the expectation that the machine will go for its first 60,000 hours without any really major structural issues.
Okay.
That's what. So the design life is not the life of the machine,
Right.
right?
Because then there's the retrofit
Well,
that
the
you can do.
economic life too. You get some places that are really good at maintenance. The machines last longer.
Mhm.
That being said, most of the machines, all the Canadian machines, are all high-hour machines that'll last probably for the life of the mine and beyond.
Right.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide, and Corporate Traveler Canada, helping companies travel the globe simpler, faster, and easier. We are heading to events across North America, Africa, and Australia, and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. L&H Industrial can custom engineer and build from the ground up any heavy equipment assembly or machine that you need for your operation. Their worldwide 24/7 field services network is on the job whenever you need heavy equipment troubleshooting, repairs, rebuilds, relocations, or replacements. And thanks to their specialized design and engineering and state-of-the-art manufacturing and repair services, they are a go-to international supplier for improved components and custom assemblies for heavy industrial machinery. Visit lnh.net to learn more. Your trusted partner of choice, Best Tech Engineering, is excited to announce that they have acquired Spencer Engineering. This allows Best Tech to add mine hoist expertise to their existing suite of services, including mining, power, electrical, instrumentation and automation, mechanical, and structural divisions. This diversification will offer clients the highest level of service and value for their projects. Don't miss out on this exciting new chapter of engineering excellence. Reach out today at besttech@besttech.com to learn how Best Tech can help you. With Fender Dunlop, you know you are getting the best conveyor belting in the market. That's because they ensure the integrity of their conveyor belting by monitoring each step of the manufacturing process in their North American facilities. Focused attention is given to each belting order to guarantee that they produce a belt that will assist the customer in reducing operation costs, maximizing uptime, and improving revenue. Visit FenderDunlopAmericas.com to learn more.
I want to jump back over to the haul trucks too. So can you jump into like what you're seeing people do with that for the electrification as well to basically meet the low emissions? Is there like specific things people are setting up for these haul trucks?
Yeah, well, the nice thing really about the sort of the Komatsu electric drive platform is the truck itself is already electrified.
Right.
So it runs an electric drive system. Conventional is diesel engine driving an onboard alternator,
Mm-hmm.
which ultimately drives the wheel motors. So, and that's really a platform. Kind of talking about history, like Bryce did.
Mm-hmm.
Looking way back at the Hall Pack name that started in the '50s and going through different iterations, dresser right up to recent day Komatsu. Um, it's really that same sort of idea. So once we start looking at trolley, it's really quite an easy switch over because really once we bring that power on board the truck's already designed to manage that power.
You mentioned trolley, so just in
Yeah.
case somebody just unpack that a little bit more too, please.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, trolley assist in its really basic form is just like we see with a trolley bus or a trolley train.
Right.
It's really the ability to run underneath an overhead power line. Use in this case DC overhead power lines.
Mm-hmm.
Its pantograph is located on the front of the truck, so two pantographs. That brings the power on board the truck,
Right.
and then from there we're able to manage that power through the drive system and then out to the wheel motors. And it's not a little bit of power; it's quite substantial. When we look at sort of our 300-ton, 930 class truck, that truck will consume 4 megawatts of power while it's under the trolley line at full load.
Oh, really?
So yeah, these very very high power. You start looking at multiple trucks on the line, you end up with some pretty well designed sort of DC substations. So on the incoming power side, really how that works is you have your grid power or other power available to you. You bring that into basically an electrical house. That power is then transformed from AC down to DC, and then that DC power is what's fed out onto they call it the catenary line.
And are you seeing with that because it's not an old way of doing it, but you see these buses running on those wires. So essentially, you're doing that with those haul
Essentially, yep.
trucks. Are you seeing a lot more clients now looking at those opportunities if they have power options?
Absolutely, yeah. It's really over sort of the last couple of years is really where we're seeing this emergence, this discussion around it. We had one customer in BC that recently commissioned their trolley system, and I think that kind of caught the attention of a lot of other miners right around about it is feasible. Someone's doing it. We should go look at it. Is this right for us? Will this be applicable to our situation? And we're seeing, yeah, in the sort of the broader mining market, a lot of interest, a lot of customers that have kind of even started going down this road on the feasibility side and working through it. So I expect that you'll see a lot more trolley in Canada in the next basically coming years here.
Are they seeing? Is there some with that mine that was commissioned? Did they see like positive results right away? Like, was there certain things that they found that were like working really well?
Yeah, well, right off the hop, the biggest one is the fuel savings, right? So that's where we really see our advantage with Trolley. There's a few advantages I'll touch on, but the biggest one is fuel savings. So you take these big trucks, steep grade, foot to the floor, full load factor. That diesel engine will burn upwards of 450 liters an hour.
Right.
Now we take that same situation, we put that truck under Trolley. You're not using that diesel engine, so today that diesel engine basically just goes to an idle state, still being used to turn some fans and pumps and
Yep.
a few things on the truck. But now that engine's only burning about 20 liters an hour, so that is a significant delta when you're on grade.
Mm-hmm.
So it really drives two things. So that's obviously your carbon emissions. You're realizing this huge carbon reduction just because you're not burning the diesel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other big thing there is the truck's actually capable to go about twice as fast while under
Oh,
Trolley,
okay.
which surprises a lot of people. And that really just has to do with the electric wheel motors themselves that propel that truck for braking and other things. They're actually capable of handling about twice the electric power that the truck is able to produce with that diesel engine. It's just a packaging and lots of reasons. You just generally wouldn't put an engine in big enough to meet the demands of that wheel motor, but
Mm-hmm.
now we can. So that's really, you're getting all these fuel savings. You're getting twice the speed on grade. And then the other one there is just again the difference in cost. So we look at diesel today; it varies, but say $1.40 a liter
Mm-hmm.
versus in a lot of cases, hydroelectric 8 cents a kilowatt hour.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a savings of anywhere around $45 on a 1 kilometer haul on like a 10% grade.
Right.
So every time you put a truck up, you're saving $45. So they're realizing a lot of cost savings, environmental savings. So that's really what's driving sort of the interest that we're seeing from the market.
Right.
And then ultimately, it's that return on investment that they're seeing, that if you use the line and you just keep pumping trucks up it, that
Mm-hmm.
anywhere sort of, again, it depends lots of factors, how long the haul is, etc. But a 2 to 5 year sort of return on that investment in the infrastructure and the trucks, if it's
That
well
quick.
utilized. So
Actually, jumping back over to the shovels, what sort of investment return are they seeing? Like, if they have a diesel, can they do something to convert that to electric as well?
Before I answer that question, I think the diesel and the electric machine, diesel machines is just slightly cheaper than capital cost is just a little bit
The
lower.
initial cost
The
of the
initial
machine.
cost is a
Okay.
little lower.
Okay.
A diesel machine, 60% of its operating costs are fuel. And so an electric machine is around 41% cheaper to operate, 41% of the cost of a diesel machine to operate. So if
Right.
you do the numbers, like Dillon said, you base that over years. We did a study in one mine. They were looking at converting into going electric. And the payback for the capital cost of the machine was less than 2 years. So we used $1.20 a liter
Yeah.
for fuel, which $1.20 a liter would be cheap now.
Come on, bring
And
it back.
and 8 cents a kilowatt, which just seems to be pretty standard. But in some places in Eastern Canada, the cost per kilowatt hour is lower. And then also in Eastern Canada, it's true hydropower.
Right.
So you're really getting into true zero emissions, right?
Mhm.
So that part of it. So then you get into now the big conversation is about converting machines from diesel to electric.
Yeah.
So we did a project in South America. Actually, there were 3 PC8000s that were converted from diesel machines. They were high altitude machines. They took them back to Germany. We converted them to electric, and they're operating now in South America or in Africa as electric machines.
Oh, okay.
So the actual, it's anywhere from 40 to 60% of the cost of new to convert a machine. It depends on the condition of the machine, obviously.
Right. Right.
And then you have to argue, okay, so what's the big advantages to switching over to all new control systems and new technologies? Is there enough gain in the new technologies to justify, even further savings, right? So that's been a very big topic of conversation just about everywhere now, is how do we convert over to an electric machine?
DMF Filtration is the ideal partner in solid liquid separation. Headquarter and manufacturing facilities in Italy with over 6,000 installations all over the world, DMF Filtration takes you beyond the boundaries of innovation thanks to the wide range of filter press models and thickeners available within the product portfolio. The launch of Domino, the largest filter press in the world, and AIDA, the system tutor providing real-time connection with the company, are only the latest achievements for this group, which is committed to continuous improvement. You can visit them at dmffiltration.com to learn more. Created and designed by industry leaders with decades of frontline experience, Sophie is a platform that brings workers home every day. Give your workforce the communication tools they need on the job to do it safely and productively. Visit Sophie.com today to discover how you can leverage Sophie to increase efficiencies, mitigate risk, and optimize collaboration. Safer, smarter, Sophie. As your mining projects accelerate, so should your technology. Micromining is a leading software provider to the global mining industry with solutions that support the entire life cycle from early exploration to advanced mine operation. Micromine enables explorers to prospect smarter, model faster, and estimate with greater confidence. They empower mining engineers to optimize strategic mine planning, streamline design, and schedule faster. Micromine's technology supports even the largest mines to gain greater operational control and boost performance. And they provide mining teams with reliable data management solutions to enhance insights, meet compliance, and safeguard digital assets. To learn how Micromine's next generation technology can help you, visit their website at micromine.com today.
You said about high altitude. Does that change how it's designed?
Of course,
Okay.
high altitude changes in the engine and it changes in the electric motor too.
Okay.
Because electric motors, you have to have a different air gap at the higher up altitude that you go.
Right.
But I mean, those are minor little changes. But
Mhm.
when you're changing from a diesel to electric, that's a big change.
Oh, okay.
And then from
Interesting.
the older diesel machines, the older control system diesel machines, to go to a new ultra state of the art electric machine, it's more than just changing the two electric motors to from diesel to electric. You have to do all the control systems as well, right? So
Okay.
it's a little bit more of a challenge. That's why it's anywhere from 40 to 60% of new.
Right. But I guess if the equipment's in good return as well,
Of course.
that's almost building on the like for the renewables. You're not even having to redo a whole new machine. You're getting reuse out of it.
Right, and you look at the Canadian side, the Canadian machines. Every one of the 62 machines in sorry, in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and out of the 62 machines, every single one of those machines are still running the original structure. All their steel structures, their boom,
Yeah.
everything's still original. So when you look at it that standpoint, they're lifetime structures anyway. So then you look at really what's the cost if the rest of the machine's in pretty good shape. Changing over to electric motors and electric control is a lot more of a savings, right?
Right.
And then you get the larger, some of the larger properties where electricity is easier to get at, then it makes a lot more sense. Because if you're just looking at converting a machine to electric from diesel, like Arctic, for example,
Yeah.
realistically, you're not going to run a power line all the way to the Arctic, which would
Mhm.
cost you billions
Right.
to
Right.
save millions. I mean, it just wouldn't do.
Yeah. And with you representing Komatsu Germany as well, i- the Komatsu seems like they're a leader in so many fronts in the mining. Are they always looking at what's coming for the innovation side as well on these machines?
Constantly. And we didn't touch on the new technologies. There's lots of things like dig assist to be able to have the operator be able to operate the machine to its ultimate effectiveness, right? When it's digging into the bank. So you got the system that'll actually be able to help with the operator dig. So that's the future.
Okay.
That will be because then it's all about saving fuel or saving
Yep.
electricity to move a ton of dirt.
So with the dig assist, is that like you said, we didn't actually touch on that, but that's interesting. Is it basically instructing like where the optimal place to?
No, it's having the operator. Like, I'll give you a real easy example.
Perfect.
A hydraulic shovel, you push the bucket into the face and you curl
Yeah.
and pull, right?
Yeah.
So if you get somebody that's trying to dig it in an arc, like in a rope shovel as an example,
Okay.
it wouldn't dig very well.
Okay.
So it would take away a lot of that from the operator to be able to force them to, and also when they're digging is to be able to utilize much smoother operations. So if you take like on a 26 to 30-second cycle,
Mm-hmm.
if you can save 3 seconds on a cycle, that's 10%. That's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And over each cycle, and then you look at over the years, I mean, the payback gets even crazier, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell what dig assist is now
But
bringing.
technologies, one of the things like electric and Dillon hit on it. I mean, if you have the access to electricity, that's great. I guess the future would be is where does the hydrogen fuel cells come into play?
Okay.
Because then you got hydrogen fuel cells that create energy, electricity to power an electric shovel, or a mini nuclear reactor,
Mm-hmm.
or some other form of renewable resources that could use to power machines. And then, you get into the true world where you get into environmentally friendly oils and greases,
Yeah.
which are food grade type greases. So then they truly become zero carbon machines.
Are they testing those now as well
It's already
on?
approved.
It's already approved.
It's already
Okay.
approved.
So you're seeing that in the shovels and with the haul trucks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we're seeing really end-to-end solutions when we talk, really, I guess, renewable fuels. There's lots under that umbrella, but
Yeah.
biodiesel, renewable diesel, different alternatives, and then on the technology piece, like Bryce mentioned, specific to the trucks, really Komatsu's kind of going through a big, almost an evolution of the current generation trucks. Yeah, so with that power agnostic truck, that truck's really being designed to really accept different power plants throughout the life of the truck or the life of the mine, depending, on different circumstances. But that same truck is will be designed that it accepts a diesel engine with an alternator just like it has today.
Yep.
But that same truck's also being designed to accept a battery electric. So that true, zero emission haulage, that truck is actually being tested today. It exists down at our proving grounds in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
And like Bryce mentioned as well, they're working on hydrogen fuel cell technology. So that same power plant will be able to accept that. So again, there is no one use case, but it's really about opening up different solutions depending on where you
Yeah,
are,
that's right.
what you need, and it really allows you to purchase one asset today and really be future proofed throughout its life cycle.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, and obviously with there's probably like weight and stuff that has to be accounted for when they're doing these designs for if this gets changed over.
Yeah, and really what they're shooting for is really a one-to-one. So that truck basically needs to meet the performance of the trucks today with diesel,
Mm-hmm.
and really they want the same thing out of the battery. And why I was touching on the batteries, that kind of goes full circle and ties in our conversation that without some form of trolley or really what they're kind of referring to as dynamic charging, be able to bring power on board while moving.
Yep.
And there's different companies looking at different solutions, but trolley is really an enabler for that where with battery and haulage, you really treat it different than say you would your electric vehicle today. You charge it up, you run it till it's empty, plug it back in. The idea behind the battery trucks is every haul cycle, they're basically going under the trolley line. They're not using that battery to climb the grade where it's so demanding. They're using the power from the trolley line
Mm-hmm.
while charging the battery. And then they're just using that battery on flat level ground to go dump or run to the shovel.
Right.
You're getting back under that power source, you're topping back up. So you're just kind of running in this theoretical, 50 to 80% of the battery all day long, up and down and up and down. So that's really kind of how these technologies are going to start building on each other to really lead to that sort of zero emission haulage. That again, in the right circumstances, is definitely doable, and you will definitely see it being deployed here. Probably about 3 years, you'll see that in the market. So.
Okay.
Yeah, if you'd attended Mine Expo last year, you would have seen the tele remote with the shovel that actually digs by tele remote. So you're actually running it from.
Oh,
It was the guy that was running it was in Las Vegas,
yeah.
running the actual PC 7000 in Tucson in the proving grounds.
Really?
And when Dillon mentioned about on the PC 7000 model,
Yeah.
if the whole idea the engine or electrics have the same structure, so
Okay.
it's easy to change over one to the other. Still, you still require some other changes, but it's easy
Right.
to change the power modules over. Where the older machines that were designed more around a diesel engine, now you're going to switch them to electric. Electric is a little bit barer machine,
Mm-hmm.
so a little bit more of a challenge.
I see. And I think you mentioned it, but I want to make sure we hit on it. Like with these shovels, can they get to be a true net zero as well? Like is that going to happen?
True net zero in the sense of the power that's being fed to them. So in British Columbia would probably be one of the cleanest, right? BC would be,
Okay.
I don't know if the number is 85%
Yeah.
true renewable energy or hydro.
Mm-hmm.
In the eastern Canada, I know like in Labrador as an example, I would think it would be 100% renewable
Right.
hydro.
Right.
So in that case, it's true net zero. And then if you have a machine that's with a cooking grade oil or whatever,
Yeah.
then it's true. Of course, then there's always the energy to produce the machine as well, right? Because it's a steel machine. But yes, to be able to turn the machine into a net zero is quite doable. BC, Alberta, maybe not so much yet, but
Okay.
that's changing.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's really where we're seeing a lot of those challenges around those scope 2 emissions about really what is the source of that power.
Yeah.
And to Bryce's point, again, there's so many moving pieces right now around, small nuclear reactors and all these different things that
I've
we'll
heard that come up
very
a couple
likely
times already.
see in the
Yeah,
market here
yeah.
as alternatives to be producing electricity, get away from natural gas or coal fired or some of the more carbon intense generations. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. That's going to basically create that electricity that they can then use in a very low sort of carbon impact.
On the remote control, touching on that too, is that going to happen? Is that going to be capable in like all the product lines that you're seeing with Komatsu as well? Like, is that
From the shovel standpoint, they will be.
oh, okay?
But at currently the 7000 is the first one. There's another model that'll come out but any of the newer fully simplified or computerized machines,
Yeah.
they will have the ability to switch over to be a tele remote machine at some point in the future.
Right.
Tele remote doesn't necessarily. I mean, tele remote allows the machine to operate from a remote source,
Mm-hmm.
but the machine itself still is the machine, right? It's still running on whatever power.
Right. Right.
In this case here, the machine in Tucson, Arizona was a diesel machine being run tele remote. The advantage of the tele-remote is, you're digging in a really unsafe area, like a really digging against a high wall. So you got a double bench situation. You got a really bad high wall, and
Hmm.
as long as the truck is autonomous, you can put the shovel and the truck under an area where there's no person to be at risk.
Of course.
That's where there's an advantage, right? The other advantages to tele-remote is like remote places where you're doing shift changes,
Right.
where you can actually have somebody continue to operate the shovel. The truck is autonomous. The shovel isn't autonomous,
Okay.
right? There's still somebody sitting in there. So even a tele-remote is still somebody running the shovel. It's not doing it on its own. That technology, I don't know. I probably won't see it in my working career.
Okay.
It's exciting. I mean, I remember I started with Komatsu way back in 1989 on the first trucks,
Yeah.
and I watched the trucks evolve, and now I do the shovel side, and it's interesting to see because there's a little different restrictions with the shovel, right? You can't run a shovel, bring it over to a hydrogen fuel farm.
Okay.
It'd be too far to walk. The shovel doesn't walk fast enough.
Right.
Whereas a truck, it's on tires and it can move.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot more with it. So I think the challenge is that way. Hydrogen fuel probably won't be on the shovel in the near future, but I can see where you would have some kind of a remote power plant, and you're powering over. Like right now, you'll see places that they'll run a genset to power an electric shovel to walk it out for a blast, so they don't have to.
Right.
Yeah, so it just walks with the machine, right? The
Right.
actual power source attaches to the shovel, and it just follows the shovel.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, that's for ease to get the machines out for quickness, because you still got to handle cables and that anyway.
Okay. Actually, you touched on your background. I'm gonna quickly switch over.
Yep.
Your background with SMS equipment. Can you get into that a little bit? That'd be interesting. Just how you started, kind of your background.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Kind of an interesting background, different paths. I actually started out running equipment. Ended up in the Yukon actually doing the gold mining thing before it was cool and on TV.
Okay.
So I
Just
did,
missed it.
yeah, did that for a couple of years.
Could have been a star.
Yeah, well, I still know a few of those guys, but yeah, did that for a while. Decided I wanted to challenge myself, so I went back to school, studied mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So I did that. Got to play with equipment while I was doing that. Kind of paid the bill, so that was fun. Worked in a scrapyard. Never a dull day when you just go and smash cars after school.
Right. Right.
And yeah, and then I started with SMS in, geez, taking back now, 2014, I guess that would have been now. So,
Okay.
and kind of sort of a entry level role, just around equipment reliability and sort of supporting that piece. And then that's when we're first deploying autonomy into the oil sands in Canada. So I became part of that project. Really, sort of a technical specialist role in deploying that autonomy. Did that for a couple of years, and then kind of got into the project management side of deploying autonomy. So then led a couple other deployments here in Canada,
Okay.
and then sort of as that's still growing, there's still lots of interest in that world. But really, now that we're seeing this push into decarbonization, so I kind of have a hybrid role where I still support a lot of the autonomous haulage.
Yeah.
But now as well, a lot of our customers on the decarbonization pathways, the technologies, alternative fuels, trolley assist, like we talked about, and really getting ready for this battery electric sort of platform that's coming to market.
Okay, fantastic. And you mentioned you've got quite a long history with Komatsu, Germany. So
I got to be careful. I actually started in mining in 1981 in
Okay.
southern British Columbia in a copper mine.
Oh, okay.
So I was a tailings pond operator and a plant operator, and then I went in. I took electrical on the East Coast
Okay.
after I got out of school,
Yeah.
and then when I was lucky enough to get follow through my apprenticeship, and I started in copper mining, and then I went from there into coal mining.
Okay.
And I worked in coal mining on the electrical side. I was responsible for all the trucks and loaders in a larger mine up north. And then after that, I left and I went to work for Komatsu in 1989. I actually came in on the very first 830E truck.
Oh, really?
I was the area service manager for Canada at the time, and we had two trucks on a competition in southern British Columbia. And that's
Okay.
where it started from. So yeah, I go back, my days with Komatsu were with trucks.
Okay.
But in 1984, I worked at the mine up north. We had 8 DMAG shovels, which is the old former Komatsu Germany now.
Okay.
And we had 8 shovels. They were 4 electric, 4 diesel. They were 4 backhoe and 4 front shovels. So they were the perfect match of all 4 combinations, right? So I worked there for a while with Komatsu. And then I left and I went back to work at the mine again as a chief electrician for a while. And then I left there and I went to work for SMS in 1996. So I've been with SMS since 1996. I was service manager in Fort McMurray for a few years, 10 years. did park support, did used equipment. Then I ran the branch down in Elkford, and I went to Mongolia. And I went to Mongolia, did a year in Mongolia, and after I came back from Mongolia, I went direct for Komatsu, Germany. So I've been with them for, 9 years now.
Oh, okay.
So I've been around for a little bit.
And
That's why I say when my working career, I probably won't see hydrogen technology.
right.
Yeah.
In closing as well, what is the scope like for SMS equipment across Canada? What is the scope like? What sort of i- I've seen them all over. There's one in Kamloops where I'm from. How large is that distribution network?
Yeah, so really we're coast to coast to coast in Canada. We support Alaska as well,
Okay.
subsidiary in Mongolia, and really everything in the product line from sort of your 3-ton mini excavators
Yeah.
right up to the ultra class mining stuff. So
Right.
broad portfolio. I think we have over 800 sort of mining class, ultra class haul trucks now. What are we at on the shovels?
62.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, lots of iron out there that we support.
So, and obviously we'll have the links to everything. So when they want to get in touch, they
Well,
can
I
talk
will
to the
say this.
experts.
I'll put a little plug in for SMS because I've been with SMS for a long time.
Yeah.
They're a good company. They're the largest independent Komatsu dealer in the
That's right.
world.
Oh, okay.
They're one
Interesting.
of the largest Komatsu dealers in the world by volume anyway. These
Really?
SMS. But here's the thing I would always tell you, like I'm Komatsu Germany, so I will tell you we make the best of the best, right?
Yes.
But in all reality, the reason that the shovels are successful really gets down to is the support that they receive at the local level. So if these guys don't have the parts in stock,
Yeah.
technical support, trained skilled people to go out to fix these machines, because the machine doesn't really have a heart, right? It'll break down on a Friday afternoon on a holiday just at Christmas time.
Of
It
course.
doesn't care.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that support, and especially when it comes to a shovel, the shovel is the highest in the mining order.
Hmm.
If a shovel goes down, the whole operation stops. So that's where it comes key to the dealer. So I always say, I can tell you we were the first ones to invent a hydraulic shovel in 1954. We got the largest electric hydraulic shovel fleet in the world, more than all the others combined. That being said, though, and we have the strongest, most durable structures, at the end of the day, it comes down to the support. If the support isn't there, even the best of the best won't work.
Right.
Right? They'll work for a little bit, but
Yeah, that's huge. And that's again having those strategic locations coast to coast to coast.
it's
Yeah,
key.
that's
It's
yeah,
absolutely key.
and that's really what we pride ourselves on. We have over 40 locations, but to Bryce's point, it's really about who we are, how we support our customers, and I think that's really key. And that is building and maintaining those business relationships
Yeah,
and having that skill set to, like you said, when it goes down at the most sort of inopportune time, we're there to support you.
to be a number one solutions provider, which is the motto of SMS, to be a number one solutions provider, that's nice words on a piece of paper,
Yeah.
but you got to be able to prove that.
Right.
And I can give you many instances. We talked about the Arctic, the ice road truckers and
Yes.
so you want to go and take a challenge, take on 3 large shovels and a fleet of trucks up in the Arctic. That's a big challenge,
Hmm.
and that's not because the manufacturer is good. I mean, the manufacturer is good, but that's because of the support and it takes a lot to do that.
Right. Is there, in closing, is there any other points you want to get out? I mean, we've covered a lot here, especially on the haul trucks and the shovels, of course. Any other closing points before we close this off?
No, go ahead.
Well, I would just put a little plug in for like mining. Mining sometimes gets a bad rap. Mining
Mhm.
is actually very exciting. I've had a fantastic 41, 42-year career in mining.
Yes.
It's a fantastic area for young people to get into. The new technologies and the new thought processes, the new kids on the block that come out
Yes.
will take it to even better. Because if it's not mined or cut in the forest, it's not here.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know we wouldn't have anything here, right?
Exactly.
And it's ideal. Like everybody wants to have a good, true, clean world.
Hmm.
Like everybody wants to breathe clean air. That's for sure. The mining is going to be around. The technologies will change, but it's exciting. The career opportunities for young people is fantastic. I would put that to anybody. Go check out mining.
Yeah.
That's my little plug for the mining side.
Yeah, especially with all, like you said, like with the remote technology,
Yeah,
everything coming in.
it's wonderful stuff, and the stuff that they're doing you don't even see behind the scenes. Miners don't usually talk about themselves a lot,
Hmm.
but they do a lot of stuff for the environment. Like Tier 4 emissions. I mean, that's just leaps and bounds over what it does for carbon emissions for the trucks
Right.
and for the equipment. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank
And
you both for joining. Any
yeah, I guess one last closing comment I kind of always bring up when I'm talking, it's no one's going to solve all these challenges around decarbonization themselves. So, collaboration is key. And that's why I enjoy, having these conversations and talking about it and getting to work with different solution providers and, electrical infrastructure people. And it's really interesting to see when you kind of group everyone together and they're faced with a challenge, what they come up with. So it's to Bryce's point, he might not be around to see it all, but it's going to be an interesting path here for sure.
I might be. I
Absolutely.
hope I'm
Well,
around. I'm
yeah,
hoping I'm around, but I hope I'm not working.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to work too long.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for joining. Thank you everybody for watching Mining Now. Again, we're at Montreal CIM 23 in Montreal. Please give us a follow on YouTube, subscribe, that button. You know where the button is, and make sure to tune into all the great content that's coming up next.